I find that one of the most difficult things to do is to continue to wait on God during the darkest times, when things are overwhelming, when things are seemingly hopeless, when you don't see a way out, when you don't see a change. It can be so hard to wait on God. And I think so many Christians have a misconception of what it actually means to wait on God. I think a lot of people think that it simply means that I'm waiting for God to take away my difficulty. I'm waiting for God to change my situation. I'm just sitting back and God will come in and he'll change things, and then I can sort of get on with my life. But that's not what waiting on God means. That might be waiting for God to do something, but not waiting on God. Waiting on God, it's a very active thing, and it's a huge step of faith for us to take. It's saying that even when things are terrible, even when things are overwhelming, even when things are difficult and we don't see any point, we don't see any way out, we don't see any hope in our circumstances, that we're continuing to come before God, and we're continuing to not allow our circumstances to dictate how we're going to live for God and how our relationship with God is going to be, and who we see God as. So basically, when you're going through the deepest, darkest times, you're continuing to come before God in prayer. You're continuing to trust that He is good. You're continuing to worship Him. You're continuing to be thankful for the good that is taking place in your life. And you're doing it in the face of every emotion which is telling you not to. Every single thought and emotion is trying to drag you down and discourage you and stop you, as well as the enemy just coming in and saying it's pointless. What's the point of coming before God? It's not going to change anything. It's not going to do anything. And it's so hard to fight against our emotions, because as humans, we are so driven by our emotions. We can, of course, bring them under subjection to our thoughts and our will and to the truth of God. But our emotions are so powerful, and they often direct us in ways that we don't want to be directed and influenced. So trusting God, waiting on God in the difficulty, means that despite what I'm going through, I'm going to still come before Him. I'm going to trust that He's good. Even if I don't think it, even if I don't feel it, I'm going to worship Him, I'm going to praise Him. And even if I can't see a way out, even if nothing is changing, the one thing that can change is me. That even in the midst of this difficulty, I can be transformed. I can know Him more. I can become more like Jesus. And it's about having the faith to not deny what we're going through, not to fall into a resignation and a hopelessness, accept that our circumstances may be very difficult and very overwhelming, but to also recognize that God is unchanging, and that the greatest will for His life is for us to know Him, to have relationship with Him in the midst of what we're going through, and to be conformed to the image of Christ, and to place great value on that, and to be refined through the fire, our faith that is more precious than gold. And we continue to do this day after day after day, consistently, regardless of what's going on around us. And that is true faith, when we are stepping out in the absence of feelings. And this is what waiting on God is. It's God, even though things are so chaotic at the moment and I can't even cope, I'm going to continue to come before you and trust in you. I'm going to continue to worship you. I'm going to continue to live for you and glorify you. I'm going to continue to give thanks. And it's just this heart attitude that says, God, you're greater than everything that's going on. And God, I value you even more than I value better circumstances, which is so difficult to do when we're going through circumstances that we absolutely hate. There are so many different aspects of waiting on God. We're to wait on Him for our salvation. And in the Old Testament, it uses the term salvation to mean like deliverance. We're to take courage because of who He is, and we're to wait on Him with a heart that has good courage and confidence in Him. It's to wait on Him continually, no matter what's going on. It's to wait on Him only, that He alone is our rock and our salvation. We're putting our trust in Him, not in anything else. There's so many aspects to this. But the one takeaway from this video would be that it's not a passive thing. It's just a coming before God day after day after day and continuing to do the things that we would even if things are going great in our life. Because ultimately God is the one who we can trust. God is unchanging and God deserves our praise and glory, and allow him to change our perspective, to know him more and to become more like Jesus. Leave your comments below, friends. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. It's very encouraging to know that there are so many brothers and sisters out there that are ultimately your greatest treasure is God, and that you are waiting on him, that he is your hope, and that regardless of what goes on, you're unmovable. The enemy is not going to deter you from giving God the glory that he deserves. God bless you, friends. Talk to you very soon.